Isaac Keys is a former NFL player, actor, and now plays the role of Diamond in Power Book 4 Force. We discussed how while he was playing football, a few bad real estate deals resulted in him losing a lot of money and trying to figure out his next move. At one point, he only had $6 in his bank account. Life as an actor ain't easy, and Isaac joins Peaks and Valleys to talk about it right now.
They say it is the darkest before the dawn. But what do you do before the dawn comes, when all you have is candles and night lights guiding your path until morning, until your sight is restored and you can see your way out, your way through, your way to the other side. You push with all your might until the day breaks and your victory comes. This is Peaks and Valleys with TK Trinidad.
We have Isaac Keys in the building. I am so proud of you. So I always like to give a little backstory on like how I know people. So Isaac, he goes to the same gym that I go to. So shout out to G Train Fitness. Yeah. But currently in the Shy shooting for Power, one of the Power books. Power is going to be a whole Power universe. But that is where he has, the nice background and all that good stuff. But before we get into that, kind of let's get into, a time in your life where stuff wasn't going right and how you motivated yourself to get out of it.
That's a big time frame. Like
yeah, just one thing, because I know you played football, you played professional football, and I know quite a few athletes who have. That's a whole story in itself. It's almost like you live two very distinct lifestyles, and there's a whole bunch of stuff that's probably happened in the midst of it. But whatever one story that comes to mind where you just thought, yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna make it out of this one.
Well, like you said, I like to say, and I tell people all the time, it's like, most people fight to try to live, one dream, and I honestly could say that I've lived one and I'm living another. Transition to acting, so that kind of leads me to that point to where I feel like that moment in life where I didn't know what the hell I was getting ready to do. It came and it just kind of built up, but it came right at the end of realizing that I was through with football, which is, kind of common for a lot of professional athletes. But at this point, it was just so much transition. I thought, I was going to be the athlete that I just kind of did everything, the right way, in that sense of where I knew all the horror stories. So I knew all those things. I'm like, I'm going to avoid those things. Now, granted, I was an athlete that I was always, I was on the bubble, I was always on the grind. I never was that big name player in the NFL. I never was made a big contract, but I made a little money for the age that I was at. But while I was doing that, I felt as though what I wanted to do was try to get involved more in real estate. While right at the last end of the career, let me get involved in real estate. Now, mind, this is 2007 going to 2008, and anybody that's on real estate or anything that concept understand where I'm getting ready to go in 2008. I started dealing with some of my ex-teammates who have done real estate, but me, I'm still concentrating on football, waiting on this. Now, at that time, they would give anybody a house. Like you had good credit, and I show a contract of how much money I was supposed to be making and coming into that season. I mean, they'd throw you a house. And I'm talking about not just any house. I had 2 multi-million-dollar houses, and I had one that was probably worth a little bit less than $500,000 of house that I was looking at. But the way we were doing it, I was making more money than I was there up the front end than I was making, playing football. So I was like, oh, okay, this is where it's at. Now, mind you, I wasn't doing a lot of research into this whole thing. I was sitting there, at a young age, trusting some friends. I knew the game plan. So by the game plan, I was like, okay, well, we're gonna work the game plan. I didn't know all the details into the game plan. So mind you, in saying this, that okay, I had these houses. These houses, two of the houses I've never seen. 2 multi-million-dollar houses I've never seen. I just seen pictures of. I never went to go see them. Didn't have time. Just do the contract. Oh, that money hit my account. Great, love it. So so I'm just like, okay, let's work the plan. We're gonna hold on to it for a year, then we're gonna flip it and make more money on the back end again. Okay, great. Pay the mortgage with the money that you get, and those type of things. Man, shit. So sounded great. So unfortunately, one of my friends who I was doing it with, ex-teammate, passed away. It was tragic, and shout out to his whole family, and my prayers went out to him, everything. The other teammate didn't know everything about doing the process. He was learning from the teammate who unfortunately passed, and I'm the teammate who just don't know shit. But I got good credit, and I got a petition to make a cool amount of money that will allow me to get these houses. So I'm
Mm.
on. Now, so time goes by. We don't know, wait for a year to go by, but now I'm paying these high end mortgages with the money that I recruit. Now it keeps on going, and things are not going right with the houses. Like we're not, doing what needs to be going. They need to have some refurbishing done to them. Need these things, all these things. So I'm just hemorrhaging money right now. To the
Mm-hmm.
point where I'm hemorrhaging the money that I got off the front end. But now I'm starting to go into my own pockets because I didn't know what the hell is going to go in recession. All this starting to happen. This and this and this. I ended up, and then I going back to the same football team. They ended up not signing me, so I ended up going to the CFL, trying to do that. But I'm still managing these houses. I got 4 houses, one I'm living in, and 3 houses of real estate, 4 of them. And I don't know what the hell is getting ready to go on. I just started just walking away from them. I didn't know no better, so I'm just sitting up here being I can't think of the word right now. Just I get upset. My heart started pounding just talking about it. But going to that point, to make that long story still long, I hemorrhaged the money and not knowing. So it basically boiled down to me not knowing a lot of things,
Right.
and took me back down to a point to where I was ashamed. I felt belittled. I did not know, but I was also angry at myself, and
Mm-hmm.
I was pushing people away who were close to me, and all this was happening with me not even realizing it. And I think, unfortunately, when we are in a learning process of life and learning ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
we go through things that don't even realize until somebody can actually grab you, whether it's Jesus or God himself or a close friend grabs you and says, hey, wake up.
Mm-hmm.
What you need to learn from these things. This whole process for me was I had to be able to learn to put my past behind because it was holding my future hostage.
Mm.
And when I was able to finally, and now this is not happening in a day amount of time. I remember going to church one time, and in this space where I was then, and I was angry in church because they weren't giving me the message that I needed to receive. Like I needed to receive I wanted an answer in church that day, and I
Right.
was angry leaving church. And you know me, I'm not a person that really gets angry. I'm really even killed, but that's because of the work that I've done. But I was angry internally so much that I was driving home and I just broke down and started crying.
Mm.
Broke down and started crying in my truck. But then I'm looking in the rearview mirror and I'm looking at myself, and then I'm laughing at myself too. It's kind of like one of the movies where you're looking at there's another face looking back at you doing something
Yeah.
different.
You
I'm
wondering?
Yes, I'm crying, which I don't cry. It's hard for me to cry, but it's like it overwhelmed me. It's like it's crying, and I'm crying, but I'm then laughing at myself, like, "What the hell are you doing? Look at you!" And laughing at this point, till I broke down, and at the time, I'm grown, but I called my parents, who are my biggest supporters and biggest support group, and I'm so glad that they have done what they need to do to be able to pass the buck forward to their kids. They're in a
Mm-hmm.
good place, in a position. They've done what they need to do because they came from nothing. Um, so I called them and they just were my backbone. They said, "What do you need? What's going on?" And I broke down and I told them. I told them what I needed, and they were there for me from that jump. And that was the initial part of my journey of coming out of this rut that I had dug myself into.
Right.
I dug myself into such a rut that I realized I was affecting my friends, I was affecting myself, I was affecting my future because I had allowed myself to build all this resentment up, all this anger up, and to be able to feel like I'm angry at myself as well.
Right.
And building all that up becomes what we now know, and everybody talks about a toxic relationship. But toxic relationship is not just with other people, toxic relationships with yourself as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a toxic relationship with myself. And once I relinquished that and relinquished the people that owed me money and relinquished the houses and released all these different things, my future started to change. And
So,
go ahead.
so would you say? Because I think I've been in that scenario, not your scenario, but
Sure.
you, especially when you involve money,
Mm.
and you lose a certain amount of money, it's almost like that sick feeling, like in the pit of your stomach, and you you don't want anybody, you don't want to talk to anybody. Like the money's gone, like there's like
Yeah.
you already kind of did the fight to try to figure it out, and it's just you're just there. Is
Yeah.
that kind of feeling that happened when all that was before the cry
Of
happened?
course, you didn't want anybody to know.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't want nobody to know because they look at you like, what? Because when you really look at it, you like, I was stupid as hell for doing that. When I look back on those deals, like, what was you thinking? All I saw
Yeah.
was dollar signs, and I saw trust. I saw people I saw a way out of the other situation that I felt like football. I was
Mm-hmm.
so angry at football that it wasn't giving me what I felt like I wanted or deserved. Well, just wanted what I deserved. Because I
Right.
was angry at football. Like football was like a bad relationship sometimes. It's like a relationship where you love it so much and they can do whatever they want to you, and you get angry at them, but then you still allow them back into your life because you feel
Right.
like you need them or you want them. You want them so much. And that's how football was kind of doing me at the time. So I found this other chick, which was real estate at the time, who could like provide the things that I felt like I needed and deserved over
Uh-huh.
here. While I could
Stroking the
still,
ego.
yeah, while I could still date the football at the same time, but teach them a lesson. And now I
Right.
feel the relationship different because I'm good over here.
Mm-hmm.
So it didn't have a stronghold on me. So I say all to say it's like, yes, I felt ashamed and I didn't want nobody to know them. Every time I had to tell the story, I felt even more angry because it's like I had to tell this person's story and they're looking at me. I feel like they're looking at me with judgment eyes. And
Right.
I want that. And then you realize the people who really cared about you, really had your back, weren't looking at you with judgment eyes. They were looking at you like, okay, well, how can we get past? How can we help?
Right.
What you also understand is that as you go through life, and we all have friends that go through relationships or maybe a job, and they keep coming to you to vent. They keep coming to you to vent. You keep on giving your A1 game knowledge. I'm talking
Mm-hmm.
about like, you should do this, and it makes so much sense to you. But that person's never going to make that change until they're ready to make that change. No matter
Mm-hmm.
what kind of good advice you give them, no matter what kind of knowledge you give them, all you can do is apply it. But you talk yourself till you blue in the face or passed out. That person's never going to make that change until they're ready to make that change. And
Yep.
as life goes on, you realize that it's a journey, and everything that you go through, what you need to do for yourself, the greatest gift to yourself is to just learn from the experiences and not try to do them again. Learn from the experiences and keep going and
Right.
brush off your shoulder, brush off your back. Like, yeah, I made plenty of mistakes. The greatest people who you look at have made plenty of mistakes. You just don't hear about them. They
Yep.
make many mistakes, and they label things as failures. But we know what that's told story. It's not really a failure; it's a learning experience. And when you start
Yep.
changing your thought process on that, then now you walking a little with your head rolls, or your head a little higher, your shoulders back, because you're like, okay, that was a learning experience. I'm not gonna do that shit again.
So, I mean, that just like kind of just it just dawned on me. You picked two careers that it that like and trust me, I'm in the same boat as you. Like I was a track athlete, now I'm doing this TV thing. You picked two careers that like the percentage of being successful and living, like making a living is there are a lot of people who fail. And yes, you got to a certain level in the NFL, right? But then here you are, like you were saying, like you had the deals, they fell through with the real estate. You're looking at the back end of your NFL career, but you're still young. Like that's the whole other thing. So in that point, like what was it like for you? Because I'll give this analogy, and I live by it. It's like one of those people who are an athlete in high school. They tend to think they're an athlete of some sort for 3-4 years. And then people who are an athlete in college, they tend to think of themselves as an athlete for an additional 6 or 7 years. But people who are professional athletes, in their mind, in the back of their head, they tend to always think they're a professional athlete. But life is not like that.
Right.
So that transition, how was that transition for you?
I knew because of my grind, I knew that, I wasn't going to be a professional athlete for long, but at the same time, I feel like I was like, oh, but I still, but like you said, still like, okay, but it was so tough trying to give everything I had to try to make these teams that I realized that I wasn't able to put that energy to something else. What else am I going to do? They started offering interns, they start offering different things for players while they're playing. But it's so hard for a player that's trying to make it in a sport to focus on something else. One, because they feel like they're taking away some of the energy from the main sport that they love, and they love that sport. So it's still trying to find what else are you passionate about. As a professional athlete, it is so like you put so much into that sport that it's hard to even focus on like, well, what else do I like to do? That's why it's so hard for the transition. Because when the transition happens abruptly, you're like, uh-oh, what else am I good at? What else do I like to do? What else do I do? And that's why I tell people sometimes it sets a player back 3 years once they start playing sometimes, because they got to try to figure out what the hell I'm going to do. I went through a whole transition phase with a transitional coach who worked in the front office and took another job. He was like, I had to learn because like, okay, break it down. Corporate world, you keep going up here, boom, 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 you keep
Right.
rising up on the ladder. NFL, you're rising up on the ladder, but while they're going up here, you rise up on the ladder, and then when you stop, you're here. The corporate world is still going. So now you got to try to figure out what's another escalator you're going to get on to keep on going at the age of 10 to age of 30. That 30 is old in professional sports, especially in NFL. That's old. You got another player 21, 22 years old. You're 30, and
you're lucky if you get to 30 sometimes.
Exactly. The NFL stands for not for long. Average is 3 years. Okay, so I say this and say that I had to learn how to develop into a civilian lifestyle, as I would call it, and that was a transition because if you're not leaving with the NFL's stature or these things on your back like accolades where people know who you are and that, then all you really have is the conversation. Now the conversation gets you in the door, but it ends about what are you going to do to stay in the door. I go back to the hardest transition really was because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I started doing a personal trainer. I did.
Everybody did.
Because it's like that's all you're used to when you leave an athlete. Like, well, I know how to work out. You know, so I started doing that. I was doing promotions for Hennessy Black at one point in the club. When I decided I wanted to start acting, the reason why I got an actor because one thing I didn't know what I'm gonna do, but I love the creative process. 9 to 5 would not be for me because I like redundancy and I get bored easy. Like me sitting at the desk doing something somebody else, that's not me. And I've been doing myself a disservice. I'm glad I realized that. But so got into the parts of going towards the acting. I started completely over. I had $50 in my account. I only had the house that I had in Phoenix, and I was getting ready.
What did you say? How much money did you have in your account?
$50 in my account at one point. I couldn't put gas in my car at one point, and I had a Tahoe, so you know that took a lot of gas. So at one point I didn't have anything like that. I said my parents came through. I was blessed to have the parents that come through to give me a little bump, and then also because of the tax returns, they thought I had all this stuff, these houses. How my taxes was all cracked up. They said I owed them $200,000. I had to hire a tax attorney who normally charged, what was it, $500 an hour to work to fix that. He gave me a deal, so it was only $9,000 when I was instead of 18 or 20. He gave me a deal, which I'm grateful for. But they got it together to where I had got a large lump sum of money for that tax return, like $16,000. So I took that, I moved to LA, and that lasted about a week in LA. Once you get your apartment and move something to LA. So I moved to LA. I mean, I stayed on my cousin's couch before I got a place. I stayed at friends' houses. I did so many different things that I just still look back on it like, how did I have the gumption, the audacity, and the resiliency to do all these things to continue to push on and get to where I'm at right now? Because there were so many no's that I was like, I'm gonna turn into a yes, or so many ways I could have just stopped and quit. And I don't know where I had that mindset and fortitude to be like, nah, I'm gonna keep on pushing. I'm gonna keep.
Well, that's the whole concept of the show. So like, in your mind, was it something like your parents instilled in you, or like, because like I said, both those career paths that you've chosen, like, it's not for the faint of heart. So you know, what is it in you that makes you just like keep going? Because there are a lot of valleys in these careers.
I wish I could take it and put it in a bottle and sell it. I'd be a billionaire if I could take it, whatever it is, take it and sell it. I'd be a billionaire. I think it's a multitude of a lot of things. I've always been an underdog. I don't care from as being growing up. I was put in the friend zone, dating women, friend zone in middle school like that. I was a little athletic, chubby, and I was just like I had good conversation, but that wasn't what they were into at that point. You know, I started to outgrow that part. Played, was good at all sports, athletically. Baseball and football were the two that stood out. Then, you know, I started getting burnt out on baseball, leaned towards football. I played out of position, so I didn't get a scholarship. I walked on to college. I walked on to 2 different schools. I walked on North Alabama my first year. They played me a tight end. I don't play offense, but they felt that's where I would play. I didn't like the school. Transferred to Morehouse. I'm not a quitter, but it was like I knew that wasn't college for me. You know, the school I was at, I didn't feel like college, and I wanted experiences. People tell you, like, you know, best time of your life is in college. It is. It's one of them. I transferred to Morehouse, and then I had to set out a year. Then I played, and I started for 3 years, and I earned a scholarship there. Then they was like, well, you got an opportunity to go to the NFL. And I was like,
Wait. You're just glossing over. So
I,
for my folks who don't, for my folks, like I understand it because I've been in that position. But for my folks who don't know, being a walk-on and then going to 3 different colleges and then earning yourself a scholarship while in college, that is not an easy thing. Like it's like I didn't even know that about you. Like that's
my every time I tell it, like it's because I tell it so much, but it motivates me. But I'm still looking at myself like, damn, you did that. Like
uh-huh.
I still
At what,
you did.
2021? 2021 around?
You said again?
How old were you? Like 20 or 21 at the time?
Yeah, I was. I transferred to Mars. I was 18, going on 19. So 2021, and yeah. And it's so much little things in between that. Like I fought to keep the head coach there because we lost our first season like 0-11. And we went 0-11. Like we lost every game. Like I mean, whether it was by the 1 point or a lot, we lost every game one year, and I didn't even know how that felt. I was like, that did something to me. And they fired their coach. They wanted to keep it, and they wanted to get another coach. I'm like, this team, even before me, has had 3 different coaches before I even got there. We need some consistency. I had to sign a petition and fight the school to keep the offensive coordinator as a head coach just so we can have consistency. So I had saw the underbelly of the school. I saw the underworld. Like I fought for that to keep that guy there, and they hired him. We went 2-8. Then the next year we went 8-3. Like that was the biggest turnaround. From that on, they had winning seasons from that point on until things like after me. Like it's so many things, and then even as we're going to the NFL,
and then you go to the NFL. Like that's not.
That's just because there's so much before that. Like I didn't have any guidance going to the NFL. They say get agents. You see, the only people you see are the people that they draft pro days. These different.
Yep.
They're not seeing these guys in Division II schools. Like I didn't know how to get an agent. Agent wasn't necessarily coming to find me. Mm-hmm. I didn't know about pro days. Who was going to train me for the pro day? What I'm supposed to necessarily do. I didn't have guidance in that. Words. I'm searching and finding one agent. No, go to this agent. Okay, whatever. You find somebody on your level that you are. Same way it is as an actor. You find an agent or manager at the level that you are. You're not going to get William Morris or CAA or APA at that level. You're going to get someone at the level you start out at. Even then, had a great pro day, better than some of the players that would come out of Division I schools. But because I went to a small school and HBCU, I'm not looked at as the same competition, the same level of play. But then Minnesota called and they said, hey, we're going to pick you up in the late round, 7th round as a free agent. I was like, wow. Okay, take that as a grain of salt, but okay, that means something.
Right.
Draft day came and went. I waited for I had a little phone too at the time. I waited for my little phone to ring. Scout called me. He said, hey, Isaac, his name's Roger Jackson. He was and I owe a lot to him. He said, hey, they did some things behind my back and they filled the roster up. I said, okay. He said, but I'm going to do everything I can to get you in here. It's like, all right. Stomach drop. I'm at that phase. That's another phase when everybody like this, when you leave in college and you don't really know what you're going to do, your parents saying, hey, you're going to be off the insurance. You're not going to be able to do this. So what you going to do? What are you going to career wise? What are you going to get other people at the school? Like, I'm going to grad school and such. I was burnt out on school. So I was like, once I was through it, I was like, college is like it's fun. It's great fun. But education wise, it's like, okay, it's what you get from it. So I know what I was going to do. My stomach dropped. I don't know what I'm going to do in life. I'm like, I got to pay the rent for this apartment. Work study getting ready to stop. Financial aid, whatever money is like that's getting ready to stop. I didn't know what I was getting ready to do. I was going to go to Teach for America because I enjoyed teaching because it was redundant. It wasn't redundant. It's I'm do every day. I was like, maybe I do Teach for America to teach me how to teach, put me in some inner city school. I can help the youth like I was doing a month later. But my Morehouse mom, I said, I was going to start working out. My Morehouse mom said, boy, if you don't get out there and continue your dream, continue to keep working out, and just see how the cards fall, I'm gonna beat your butt. That's what she basically told me. And I was like, all right. So I kept working out. The scout called me on a month later, Memorial Weekend in May. Draft like April 21st, called me at the end of May. He said, hey, Keys, I got the linebacker coach on for Minnesota Vikings. They want to bring you in for a workout and put you on the phone with him. He came on, and I could hear it. I never seen it look like. He's like, hey, Keys, if you want to bring you in for a workout. And I said, Okay, coach. Yeah, I appreciate that. Well, you can pack a big bag or you can pack a small bag depending on how good you think you are.
Mm,
Yeah.
challenge.
I said, okay, coach. Well, I'm gonna pack the biggest bag I got, and I'll see you in Minnesota. Thank you for the opportunity. And click, got the phone, picked me up, did a workout. Billy Green came, walked out. May he rest in peace. And he said, we're gonna sign you to a free agent contract. And that was the start of the rocky up and down journey of the NFL, the other phase of my life. But that's how I got there. So every point, and the same what you were saying before, is I've always been an underdog. So I think that's what instilled. It's like I just always had this tenacity about me. It's like I wanted more for myself.
Mm,
My father always instilled in me to be twice as better than anybody else, especially as a black man. You got to be twice as better, whether it's in the workforce or on the field, than anyone else. And he always instilled a work ethic. Be the best that you can be. If you're gonna be a dishwasher, be the best dishwasher there. So always through my life, I always felt as though I'm gonna be the best I can possibly be and put in the work to do so. I just always wanted more. And
mm-hmm.
my biggest fear always in life was not living up to my potential. And I still feel like there's more things to tap into for myself. So I think that's why I push so hard on different things. And I think that's what's gotten me to this level, to where I'm at. It's just the tenacity to always try to want more for myself and not be content in a sense.
So would you say that because you, like the stories you've given, it's still one of those things, like was your dad the influential part, or like is it, because it sounds like part of it's genetic, it's like in you, just
Yeah.
like you're never gonna quit, that's just what it is. Do you think
Uh,
it's like something from your parents, or is it something generational, or is it faith?
I mean, I would be remiss if I didn't say it was my father who instilled it. I mean, yes, my father definitely instilled that in me. I think he instilled that in me, and I think there was just something also just out of life that clicked as well too.
Mm-hmm.
Because even my parents looked at me sometimes, look at me like, "You ready to do what?" Like, damn, that boy figured it out, didn't he? Like, he didn't figure it out. I don't, it's really a great question because I don't know one, specific thing. I think it was life as it continued to go, and as I just continued to learn. But honestly, I mean, it's the power, it's the universe and it's God, because it's something He wants me to continue to go and continue to do.
Mm-hmm.
And no matter any setbacks or going forward in life, it's just worked out. And I'm at a place now where it's like I'm so intrigued with learning, and I'm so much more understanding and woke to what things are going around and how things are happening and what's going on in the world, in the sense that it allows me to, I don't know, feel like I'm in a better place spiritually, and where and how I'm grounded, and who I let
Mm-hmm.
into my life, who I involve myself with, and understand that I don't have to be, I don't have to be apologetic for that. Like, your energy and how you move is is your responsibility. Your happiness is your responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
The choices that you make are your responsibility, and the blame always falls back on you first. And when you understand that, then you take a lot of the anger and the pressure off from other things else. When you start looking at, like, okay, well, what could I have done different?
Right.
That type of
Yeah,
situation.
it's from an outsider looking in,
Sure.
and it just seems like you're just so you're centered, and
Hmm.
in times of life when you finally get to that grounded place, and mind you, like, we go in and out of that because life is life,
Definitely.
but then opportunities come once we've kind of grounded ourselves.
I
And
agree.
that's just what seemed like it happened for you, like, with this second or third or fourth or seventh phase that you're in right now.
Definitely. We going.
You were grounded, and now you're in Chicago with this amazing opportunity. Not
Yeah.
opportunity, you work for it. But tell everybody about, because I love this show, but tell everybody about Power, who you gonna be, and all that good stuff, how it came.
Yeah. Well, definitely. So, as we talk, and I love what you're doing with this show, because I feel like it's very inspiring to a lot of people and can help a lot of people that know that they're not the only ones that's going through their struggles. Just know it's their journey.
Mm-hmm.
So my journey has led me to Chicago, and right now I am working on Power Book 4, or Power Force, as we call it, and it's the spinoff for Tommy Egan from the original Power. So, this I'm part of this Power universe, as you said earlier, where they have Power, then they went to Ghost, then they will have Raising Canaan, and then they will have ours, Power Force. And I
Mm-hmm.
play a character named Diamond Sampson. And I think I'm just, we talked about, I felt like this character was written for me. They didn't know me. They didn't know anything about me when they wrote this character. But when they wrote it and I read the breakdown for the character and did audition, I was like, this is me. This guy is a guy who was um, raised hard up. He had to raise his brother, but he always battled between the streets and kind of morality. And anybody knows or anybody can relate to the streets is a big difference in the tactics, because one way in the streets you have to be hardened. Being soft or having morals and values in some sense can get you in tough situations, if not killed. As they wrote in the character, they said he has zen-like eyes and he's built like granite. I said, oh, that's me. That's me right there.
Facts, guys, facts. You just see the shirt, go on his IG, there's a whole situation happening.
I was like, okay. But then when it got down into more of the intangible of the personality, like I know in my own life, like I'm in a place where you said I feel more centered. I feel like there's a lot of outside influences, a lot of different things, but sometimes I want to be the irate black man. But being 6'4", 245 pounds, you can't just be irate, because you walk in with a presence already and a demeanor that people can be a little intimidated by. But sometimes things happen, and you say, "Oh, you just seem so cool and calm." It's because I've worked on that. But I be wanting to be angry as fuck sometimes. Like it's times I'm like, football helped me with that, because I can use those outlets. Sports helped me with that. That's why I work out all the time. That's why I do things like that. But I understood the dynamics of how you have to, one side is pulling you this way and the other side is pulling this way, and then you have people that you love that you want to do for, but they not doing right. There's so many different angles on this, and that's just part of my character. You bringing Tommy to the equation. Now everybody wants to know what the hell is going on with Tommy. I just know this. I know this, that I feel in my bones it's going to be a great show, because I feel like so many people have followed Power, but not only that, but follow Tommy. And Joe Segura is not only an amazing actor, but just an also amazing person. And we have a cast that we've already gravitated to one another, where the chemistry is just so electric on set and in these scenes. And I'm just really excited, and I can't wait till people are able to see it.
Yeah, I mean, just by the post, it looks like because people don't. The Instagram is such a strange thing, because like people don't take pictures of people they don't like anymore. So it's like, if you in the picture, legit, that means like we at this moment we good, we put each other. So it looks like it's a good thing going. But I mean, we talked about your football career, so let's talk a little bit about the acting career. I mean, these interviews are really not meant to be this long, but like I said, you had 5 or 6 different life changes. So I'd be remiss not to explore the acting, because again, acting is not for the faint of heart.
Right.
I know plenty of people who've been in the acting game longer than you have, and they haven't made it. So, there are a lot more no's than yeses. And, you get to a point of, I know a lot of people who just pack up and move back to wherever they came from. So tell me about the acting journey. Like, you transitioned from football. Now you've decided that you're going to be acting.
Yeah. I mean, some people say that I took too many hits in the head playing football, and that's how I chose acting. And I wouldn't necessarily disagree with them, because like I said, acting just drew me to it. And you look back on life, you'd be like, well, how were you drawn to that? It's like, I don't really know. I was just kind of pulled into it. I was like, okay, I think I like this. And you take an acting class. You're like, this is interesting. This is really, really different. Doing really well, because we have so many layers as a person. We have so many layers that we don't want to show people. Vulnerability is probably one of the hardest things to really, accept. But it's really so much strength in vulnerability once you accept it. So the acting journey, I basically I jumped in the acting class. It wasn't nothing popping in Phoenix where I was staying at. So I moved to LA, jumped in the acting class. My mind was blown, but I realized it was therapy. It was so much there, because you had to tap into yourself and get to know who you are, in order to be able to portray that into a character, find the truth into a character. So I really I did a lot of odd jobs. As I mentioned earlier, I worked at a group home night shift, so I could do acting auditions in the daytime. And I was glad, because the kids were asleep and I didn't have to deal with them so much. So I tried to do that, and they wake up in the middle of the night. I'd be like, shit, man, damn, I got to do this. You be lightweight scared, but at the same time, like, all right, Going back to your room. So I worked at a group home, and that's where I met one guy named Gino Brooks, who was he got me the job, who was an aspiring writer. He's come such a long way. He came over with a web series called The Therapist. I said, man, let's do it. I'm tired of winning auditions. He wrote his things out. We shot it. I don't know how we shot it. We made it work. We shot it. It was before the web series time where it really blew up. We didn't before Instagram was really popping, all that stuff. So we, everything we did was like emailing everybody, watch it on YouTube, this, and this, and try to do some Twitter or whatever and build a YouTube channel. Still, the series still is really good to me. But a lot of people said it was good. But if you want to go to YouTube, it's called The Therapist. That was one of the first things. But I say that to say is that I did a lot of odd jobs to fund the dream. That's why I would say people have to, when they come to acting, they think, it may like, pop off, but you don't never know when it's going to pop off. You'll get a job and then you won't have a job for another 2 years or 6 months. So you just don't know. So you have to find ways to fund the dream. And that for me, that was working in the group home, security at a club, and doing that for a while. And then I ended up getting a security guard role. I had a commercial doing security guard. I had a control room security guard on Jurassic World, where I couldn't keep anybody in the control room, but I did my job. But it led to other things. So throughout this journey, you're funding the dream, but you're also working on the craft. Now, the biggest thing is just also working on your mind, because you're going to have people tell you like, damn, you still working on being an actor, or you an actor, or your parents might like, well, you need to just go ahead and get a corporate job and so you can get, have some stability and have a check.
Healthcare.
Exactly. And you're going to get all those outside influences to pull in. And you're going to feel like, well, damn, I'm getting older. I want to have a family. I want to have kids. You're going to have all these different things that come to play. And granted, they are valid. They are valid thoughts. But are you able to put them to the side or, subside them to be able to keep on pushing for your dream? That depends on the person. That depends on the journey that person has. But for me, I was able to do that, to push those things to the side, continue to work. It was not easy. And it's still not going to be easy. Just because I have a role on this show, I mean, it's still going to be, I still got to find the next thing. I have to push this and let the cards fall the way it may. All I want to do is add value and authenticity to this character and help my castmates and the Power Book universe be better, do my part. And then everything else, the card's going to fall. I can't control anything else. So I would say this, I think 2 points is you fund the dream and just continue to believe in yourself, work on yourself mentally, physically, and all aspects, so you're whole and you can deal with all those different challenges that come to play. Yeah.
Oh, goodness. So I think you kind of answered it, but the last question before we get out of here, for somebody who we're in sync.
I kind of answered it. Shit.
The last question before we get out of here, for somebody who's in that valley, whether they're acting or they're an athlete or just doing life things, in one sentence, what would you say to encourage them? Like, what did you say to yourself and what would you say to somebody else?
I did all that talking. You want me to narrow something down to one sentence?
Yes. Okay. One sentence.
All right. Believe in yourself and work on yourself. That's something. Yeah.
I love the fact that you said I did all that talking and you want me to do in one sentence. I mean, sometimes it's the one sentence.
I be needing somebody to tell me this one sentence, because I feel like there's so much to the story. I be wanting people to grasp onto every, like to be able to have all the information so they can pull from, because I be wanting to help people. I be wanting to help. Right. Start to help people. Yeah.
Trust me, I know. Like we kind of have similar stories where, like, it's the same thing. I just keep grinding. Like there's no such thing as can't and no to me. But the professions that I've picked,
it's a lot of no.
Yeah,
even if they don't tell you directly, it's still no's. Like you just don't get a call back. That's a no.
That part. The entertainment industry is not, and even being an athlete, it's not a kind. They don't. I mean, then sometimes your body betrays you, and then where are you? So I totally understand, but I want to thank you for the bottom of my heart, because I know you're busy and stuff is about to pop off. I want to thank you for the bottom of my heart for sharing your story, because like I said, this show is just meant for, like, you're going to do the interviews and you're going to talk about the show, and that's great. And that's great for those platforms. But this is really just meant to inspire people. And, your journey, because you were rambling off some stuff and you were just like, yeah, this happened and this happened. But those things can inspire somebody to continue forward where they didn't see a way. So I just want to thank you. I want to thank you folks. your dad for inspiring you, and whatever that's inside you to keep going. All of that good stuff. And I look forward to you just doing big things and just achieving all your dreams.
I appreciate that. I receive it. And I also want to send that back to you. Continue doing your thing. You're going to be a success. You're already proving that. You look great. Your hair looks great. And I love everything that you've been doing. Every platform that you've been working on, it's been great. And I support you in every way I can.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Peaks and Valleys is produced by Josh Rodriguez and TKO Productions. Spoken word and voiceover is done by yours truly, Lem Gonzalez. Thank you for listening, and remember, after the darkness comes the dawn.